Well, hello, White Sox fans, and welcome to another edition of the Future Sox podcast. My name is Ian Eskridge. Joining me, as always, is Mr. James Fox. How are you, James?
I am good, Ian. What's going on, man?
Well, we just got done with a pretty bleak day here at the minor league level. And what better day to bring in the boots on the ground, the heat on the street, AAA Jeff, Mr. Jeff Cohen. How are you, Jeff?
Doing great, guys. Happy to join the A team here tonight.
Oh, boy.
Oh
Yeah.
man. Only if I can
So
be I want to be Mr. T.
I am not face, so
Yeah.
we'll
So
have to figure that whole thing out. Um, Jeff, you were at Canny today.
I
Uh,
was, I was,
how was
and
that? We saw some bad stuff with Nick Pinto right off the bat today, so that kind of one of those things where it's going to deplete the rotation quite a bit because it looked to me like he just seemed to start figuring things out at the A level. Your thoughts
yeah,
on that?
no, I agree. Look, he's been really solid this year. In fact, I got to say that whole rotation down there has been such a pleasant surprise. I mean, you've got at the top of the rotation Christian Appor and Luis Reyes, and they both really look like big time pitchers. But even Brizuela, who you thought was an org guy, has been really solid, and Justin Sinibaldi has had three excellent starts in a row. I think he had 5 innings, 2 hits this week. Um, a lot of good arms still down there. I keep hearing that Mason Moore is due back soon, but he continues to be on the IL, so we'll see. They have said he's just out with general soreness after a start, so time will tell.
So I don't know. So I would assume that there's going to be a shakeup there in the rotation a little bit without Pinto there. So things are going to have to change up at least a little bit. I don't know exactly how they're going to plan to do that because judging by what I saw from him on the way out, I am not expecting on seeing him at all for the rest of the year. Just my thought.
He threw that pitch, and immediately, even before he almost finished delivering the ball, he was calling for the training staff, and then doubled over. It looks really ominous. Unfortunately, I hate to see it. Obviously.
Yeah. So have you went saw Reyes and Opper? You've seen both of them live, correct?
Yeah, I think I've seen them both twice now. It's funny. I keep telling myself, no, you've got to go see the other guys, but these guys are so impressive and they're so much fun to watch.
it's kind of limited though still, right? Aren't they like 3-4 innings, kind of like the White Sox have done with some of these top young guys?
Well, I think Reyes has gotten to 5 innings twice now,
Oh, okay. Nice.
and Opper should be getting his pitch count up. He should be close to 5, but you're right. We won't be seeing 6 or 7 innings in anytime soon. But still, it's 5 really impressive innings. They
Yeah.
both look super.
Yeah, so it's really good. I mean, like Opper, I expected a little bit just because of like some of the backfield reports and stuff I got from Arizona. I mean, look, walks for both of these guys were an issue in Arizona, but we have no video, man. Like all we're getting is like stats from rookie ball, and these guys were both pretty highly regarded. I mean, everybody knows the Opper story by now. Reyes is a 700K signing, top right-handed pitcher out of the Dominican Republic, and he struggled in the Dominican Summer League. And then even in Arizona, I had heard guys like Bill Mitchell of Baseball America come on and say, "Oh, he's the best arm there," but he's still walking everybody and he's not throwing that many innings. So it's a really pleasant surprise that both of them have pitched this well, but Reyes especially, just that he's like looks like a starter at this point, I think is promising because I thought he might be one of these guys who all of a sudden he's in relief as an 18-year-old, and it's like, oh boy.
Yeah, yeah. And his numbers aren't great if you just scouted the stat line, but to go see him in person, he's got a really super slider, and so that's a great foundation to build on, right?
It's a lot of fun to watch. Moving along to the hitting side in Kannapolis. Um, Obviously, Braden Montgomery will get to him. He's out of there now. But what have you seen on the hitting side as far as who you look forward to seeing every single time you go out there.
Well, they did bring up, brought up a few new guys from Arizona, and I'm still getting familiar with those guys, but they still have that great core at the top of the batting order. They've got Bonnemer leading off. They got Mogollon. We need to talk about both of those guys. They're excellent. Nate Archer is coming on strong. I'll tell you another guy, Lyle Miller Green is they've got him batting cleanup now, and he's looking really good. A lot of thump in that batting order, and they started out the season a little slow, but now they're in the top of many major offensive categories in the Carolina League. RBIs, home runs, they're in the top three and all that stuff now, and that's without George Wolkow doing much yet.
Did have 2 singles today, did have a nice bunt, so
I
there
saw
was
that.
that.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, that was a beautifully executed bunt. I mean, that was really well done.
Yeah, so let's get to, Caleb Bonnemer here. After he took a pitch to the forehead last week, um, I wasn't sure if we were gonna see him right away, but, he showed up, after a rainout, I think. He was back in the order, or he sat 1 game or whatever it was, and he's looked pretty good. I mean, overall, his season so far has been great.
Oh yeah, yeah. He looks really comfortable. Again, high school last year. He looks really comfortable in Kannapolis. And I've got to say, we're talking about his bat and all, and how well he looks at the plate, but I really like him defensively. What do you guys think? I think he's looking really solid. He's made some nice plays.
Yeah, I've been pleasantly surprised at shortstop. I mean, I was fairly certain that if you threw him at third base that he would be fine, and he's looked more than competent at shortstop. He's made some really nice plays over there. The arms seems like it's more than good enough, and I can't really complain. I mean, it seems like it's just an overall great draft pick. And, I know that Keith Law said that he didn't know whether the White Sox were the ones who could fix his swing issues and whatever. But I mean, everything's looked pretty good and on the up and up. I mean, I will say, as he was touted as more of a power over bat to ball on the way in, that I thought that there might be a little bit more, we might have seen a couple more home runs out of him, but he's still super young, so I think it's great.
Yeah, and he's a line drive hitter. I mean, we're not talking about little dinks and dunks over the infield. These are line drives to the outfield. He's
Yeah.
got that power's coming.
Well, the power can come last too. Like I'm just not. I am not, and Ian, you're not either. Like I am not used to White Sox teenager like going straight to low A and not even holding his own, but like being one of the best players on the team. Like it's a little bit different for me, to the point where it's like, oh, are we talking top 100 prospect here in a couple of months? So yeah, pretty good. There's no reason to move from shortstop, right? I mean, he might be, if he makes it to the majors, right, and he's a third baseman, I think we're good with that. It's just it doesn't matter at this point. Like he can keep playing shortstop.
Yeah.
But then the other guy's fascinating. So Javier Magallon, we debated him a lot, Jeff, like with top 30. Me and Ian had these conversations online and off. It's a guy that I think last year I kind of wanted to rank early, because he was doing things in the DSL that like you just don't really do, unless you're good. But then it's like a 40% K rate in Arizona while still walking and hitting for power. The fact that he's doing it in low A, I think, is pretty. Look, it's still a lot of Ks, but it's a ton of walks, and he does have power. So this guy's put himself right back in the White Sox top 30 discussion. And it's good. It's very promising. I had fears that the Ks were just gonna completely overtake him, and then he wouldn't even like get out of A ball essentially.
Yeah, again, it's early, but I mean, here right out of the gate, he leads the Cannonballers on extra base hits with 11.
And walks, right? Doesn't he have 20 something?
He's got 22 walks. That was going into the game today, but it's kind of baffling to me. How do you guys square the fact the strikeout rate is high? He had 28, but he's got 22 walks, so that shows a certain level of patience. but he's got 11 extra base hits, so he's pounding the ball when his pitches he gets the right pitch in the right zone.
He sees a lot of pitches.
Yeah,
And he's got a lot of stolen bases too.
sure. Well, hell, that's Kannapolis, right?
The whole team is
It's,
bonkers.
it's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, before you move on, so so somebody mentioned Albertus. I didn't look to see if he's been in the lineup in Arizona. I know that McLean is in
Today.
there. Okay, so
Yep.
McLean is there on rehab too. So both of those guys should be in Canny at some point or back. Back for McLean and then Albertus whenever.
Do we know McLean's injury?
I know, but I mean he's back playing, so
Okay, good.
probably his hand or his wrist if I had to guess. Like,
I was gonna say, if it's this guy's hand again, like what are we doing here?
Jeff, do you know his story where he's a switch hitter, obviously. He broke both hammock bones in college, his left and his right. So
Right.
Trey says, nice weekend for the org. Cheers, guys. Thank you, Trey. We appreciate it. And as Trey says, like the stream, everyone. We would appreciate that. That would be fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, so Albertus just made a rehab start today in the ACL. I didn't look to see what the results were or anything, but as long as his leg's there and still attached to his body, I'm good.
Do you know who else is there and supposedly active is Maximo Martinez?
Huh.
Really?
He was the other piece in the Aldrin Bautista trade with the Dodgers. And at the time, I think Maximo Martinez was like the more highly regarded guy. And then he just like never pitches.
That's pretty crazy. I was not expecting to see him ever because, he just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. Let me see if I can bring this up here. I'm just taking a look here right quick to see. Maybe it was yesterday that he made his rehab start. It might be. I'll have to look.
Trey, it's only because I have to write the Arizona Complex League preview, so I was looking at the roster earlier, and then I remembered the name, former Dodger.
Yeah, so I mean, there's actually like I looked yesterday, and I saw like the pictures. I retweeted all of them from the FutureSox accounts that we get from Frake and Jerry Espinoza, and a bunch of guys that we haven't seen yet this year. Mason Dennison, who played at Kannapolis last year, he's in the ACL. TJ McCants, who I found out had a really nasty concussion from running into Nathan Archer in Arizona. He's back playing in the ACL as well. Adrian Heal's there. Jurdrick Profar played. And let me think here. Who else?
Ias Lacombe.
Yeah, he pitched. He threw two and a third. I think the first inning went really bad for Lacombe, and then after that, he straightened things out, if I remember correctly, looking at the summary of everything. But yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, you guys, anybody have a sense as to who, in terms of the queue, who we're going to see first? Who are some of the guys we'll see first in Kannapolis?
Well, I heard that TJ McCants is going to be back in the next week or two. I did hear that,
Okay.
but what how long rehab stints take and whatever.
Yeah.
Like, who knows how long it's going to take.
I honestly don't know that you'll see anybody. I mean, like you got Nunez early. I mean, I guess in theory, I like Adrian Hill, but it's Gil Gil. I guess him probably, and he's like a corner, first base, third base type. And then the pitching, when you guys brought up Pinto going down, I looked at the ACL roster to see if there was like somebody easy to bring up, and there's really not. I don't know if like anybody's ready, so they might have to like do something else somehow in the starting rotation, anyways.
When they bring TJ McCants back, there's going to be, and McLean comes back as well from his rehab. What the heck are they going to do with the outfield in Canny?
Well, McCants is supposedly a utility guy, right? So is he going to play like literally? Is it super utility where he's also going to play in the infield?
Well,
what did he play?
Archer getting a bump?
What's that?
Could you see Archer getting a bump?
Maybe.
He's hitting like 375 or something, so maybe. It would make sense.
He wants to do a FutureSox interview. He thinks that will help him get his bump.
Okay, well, I know a guy, so
yeah, it's realistic.
That's what I told him.
Yeah. Any final thoughts here on Kannapolis before we move along to the dash?
Just to say that they won 4 out of 6 last week, 5 out of 6 this week. They're really on a roll. They get the pitching, the offense is coming together, and now it's just a question of getting a closer look at some of the new guys and see what they can contribute. Hopefully, they're home again this week, so I'm hoping that weather cooperates to get up and take in a batting practice to get a look at these new young guys from Arizona.
I do have a question
I
for
do
you.
too. Before you move on, yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
uh, so as far as George Wilco goes, have you talked to him at all as of late with how things have been going here?
I haven't. I've been really waiting to maybe like toward the end of this week, and at that point, we're going to be around 75, 85 at bats, and a significant number. At that point, I want to check in with them, and I mean, it's funny. I feel like I'm seeing improvements on him hitting breaking balls, but still don't see the results.
I one of the things that, and this is like something that I was adamant about with Colson Montgomery as well, was that I felt like he was opening up his shoulders and his hips way too early, trying to pull the ball and do mega damage. And I just feel like in the last week, I've seen George start to go to left field a little bit more and trying to keep his body closed, and I feel like that's the right path for him
Hmm.
to start. Finally making some nice contact where he's not just forcing the ball to right field and making mid contact on it.
Right, right, yeah.
Yeah, so I think we kind of know the shortcomings on Pierce George and Blake Shepherdson. These guys who are taken on day 3 of a draft with super duper premium stuff who just don't throw strikes, which is the reason why they were available when they were. Have you seen those guys like on a good day, like when the stuff works, like what it actually looks like?
I have seen Pierce George last week when I thought he was the best reliever I had seen in the minor leagues this year. Um, because you're right, when he throws strikes, oh, he's so effective. But of course, you can say that about so many pitchers in the minors.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he looks so good sometimes, and other
yeah.
times can't find the strike zone, and it's a rough inning.
Well,
So
that's why you wonder. I mean, if you saw him on his best day, you'd be like, "There's no way it was a 13th round pick or whatever it was," because
Right,
like the
right.
stuff is insane. But I mean, like literally, his college coaches wouldn't even let him pitch because they get paid to win baseball games.
Eesh.
I'm just saying. I mean, look, that's kind of what the way White Sox scouts said it too when I was on the draft call. They're like, "Look, I mean, in theory, like you're trying to win games in Kannapolis too, right? But you could make it the mandate. Like this guy's got to pitch 3 times this week. The coach at Florida State or Alabama is not able to do that."
Right. Well, that's fair. No,
All
you're
right.
right, and the upside is there, but we'll see about the control.
Yeah, Eric McAtee's looked great as well, and Young has looked pretty stinking good most of the time as well. Of course, like everybody has blow up innings, especially like the first couple months of the season, first couple months in affiliated ball. It's not really a surprise to anybody that these guys have days here and there where they're a little bit off, but those guys will look great as well.
And that's why the games are so chaotic, right? The starter goes 4 innings, and you're bringing in 5 relievers, and at least one of them, maybe two, are going to stink
Yeah,
on
Jack
that
Young.
particular night.
Jack Young's another release point guy, right? He's
Yeah.
like a low slot righty.
Well, he
Yeah,
told me he actually throws from 2 different slots. He throws all 3 of his pitches from 2 different slots,
yeah.
which I think is sidearm and 3/4. Um,
Interesting.
so
So we've
interesting one. Yeah.
had this question like 3 times because do we have any idea why Trey Mago retired? Now I know that he's had a terrible month to start off the season this year, but I got a message from his agency telling me that he retired, so he's gone. Did you hear any scuttlebutt down there, Jeff, while you were milling around?
I haven't, but I didn't get to batting practice in Charlotte this past week, but I will this week. I want to catch up with Tyler Schweitzer, and you're right. Also find out about Mago, and think there was an infielder you'd asked me about who has been missing in action, Brandon Drury.
Oh, Drury, yeah.
So I want to inquire on those two guys. But no, I haven't heard anything. I just have to assume it's health. I cannot believe, as good as he looked last year, all year, that just one bad month is enough to cause him to throw in the towel.
Yeah, I mean it's frustrating, right? You're a 27-year-old lefty with a bunch of guys who it seeming like the White Sox seemingly have prioritized over him. So,
You know?
not that that gives you reason to like quit your hopeful profession, but I mean it's kind of frustrating, I bet. When you see Brandon Eisert pitching in big league games and, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, Trey says first thing that popped in my head was injury. I figured either he had to be just feel like he has a dead arm, or he's tired of being passed over and just wants to move on with his life, which, at that age, that wouldn't surprise me either.
And who knows? Maybe he's got other great opportunities awaiting for him.
Yeah,
So
I guess
sure,
we will find out.
yeah.
So moving along here to the Winston-Salem Dash. They just got a new outfielder in Braden Montgomery, who you saw in Canny and now in Winston-Salem. Your thoughts on Braden Montgomery, Jeff?
He was pretty exciting to watch in Kannapolis, and I haven't seen him yet in Winston. I'll get the chance to do that this week live, but the stats suggest he's not missing a beat, and he still looks really comfortable. And can see Birmingham months from now, 6 weeks from now, if things keep going on this trajectory. But he looks great. He's got some electric bat speed. Wow.
Yeah, I'm wondering, Ian, how they approach it, like how important they deem Winston. Like if he does this for like 3, 4 more weeks, if it's just like screw it, we're going to double. Like because they've done this with guys in the past. I know it's a different org with different people in charge, but I do feel like some of their top guys dominate Winston for a small amount of time, and then it's like okay, go to the Double A Southern League.
Yeah, I don't really know. They've I don't know. Winston's kind of been like a weird thing for the last couple of years. I feel like with Pat being there this year, new manager over there, I kind of feel like they have instilled some new life into Winston. I feel like they've run through their problems with relievers, and I talking with Andrew Murphy, he said like, probably the thing that we need the most here in Winston is relief pitching. So I think that I kind of got a little flamed on Twitter suggesting that the roster in Winston Salem had some interesting pieces and that they were going to be fun to watch. And two of the guys have already been promoted. Well, actually, more than two. A couple of guys. I mean, there's been like quite a bit of movement in the system already, and we're only a month into the season. So, um, your thoughts, Jeff, on just the position player side of things in Winston?
Well, it's funny. I was really shocked as well with the Galaney and Connor promotions, and not that they weren't doing well, but they both kind of struggled last year when they got promoted from Kannapolis to Winston. And yeah, they've had a great first 60 at bats, but that's about it. So I was a little shocked by that. But I don't know. On the other hand, does it set the stage? As we were talking about when McCants comes along and McLean comes back. Are we going to see a lot of movement throughout the org earlier in the summer? I don't know,
Yeah,
but I will say the Winston team. It's funny. It's not. There aren't many of our top 30 prospects there, and it's not a lot of high ceiling guys, but they're still fun to watch. I mean, it's a gritty, hard nosed. They play really hard nosed, and Pat, does a great job running a ball club. So they're still a fun group to watch in terms of competitive baseball. But yeah, are the upsides there? I don't know. I don't know.
yeah. You kind of wonder about the ceiling of some of these guys. Um, but on the plus side, Gerald Perez has been out of his mind for the
Yeah.
last couple of weeks. He's got, I think he's got 8 home runs now. I think he's second. He's second in the org in home runs. Um, he's got a bunch of stolen bases. His average is okay. You know, he's hitting around like 260 ish. But he's been taking some walks here and there as well. Strikeout rate is kind of high. He's played a competent shortstop. Um, just a real pleasant surprise because we were kind of wondering after last year with his second half with the ballers, like where the power kind of was compared to when he was with the Dodgers. It's nice to see him find that power band again.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's not the easiest place to hit home runs in either. So yeah, it's impressive. And then I guess the other guy there is Sam Antonacci. Again, don't know what the ceiling is, but wow, hitting 293 with 459 OBP, more walks than strikeouts. You can't ask for more than that from your leadoff hitter.
I feel like there's been some positive developments in the Sammy Zavala side as well. That his bat's starting to come alive. We were really worried that a lot of people were worried about the Padres trade in general for Cease. You've got Thorpe who had to have the elbow bone spur action. Then he comes back. Then he goes for TJ. Iriarte has been all over the place, and Zavala being the other piece there. Um, he wasn't hitting as well, and people were looking at his A ball numbers with the Padres, but not his advanced day numbers as much. So when he got brought over, advanced day again, still giving him problems, but this year I feel that he's starting to make some positive momentum here with his changes.
Yeah, he has. This last 2 weeks, he has started to uh, show some of the promise that has been his reputation. But I'd say prior to that, I mean, it was really been rough.
Yes, James. Steven Wilson was part of the trade as well, but he's not one of the guys that we really talk about. I mean, you
Yeah.
know,
I think we should stop trading with AJ Preller. That's what I think.
well, I mean, if I still assume that Thorpe, because Thorpe's not a velocity guy, unless he comes back and he's
Yeah, I think
throwing
he'll
like
be. I think he's
84,
going to be
then we're
fine too. Yeah.
yeah. Um,
And in theory, when he returns, like you're not going to need him to be your number one starter. Like hopefully, right? If things go according to plan, and it's like mid-season next year, back in the big leagues when Schultz and Smith are in the big league rotation. Hopefully, that's brighter days.
brighter days.
Hey guys,
Uh, what's
question
that?
for you. I got a
Yeah.
question for you guys. What do you think about the upside for Lucas Gordon? Because he's been the most effective pitcher in the minor leagues for the White Sox so
Yeah.
far.
So I mean, I think Ian's watched him more than I have. So when he was taken, right, I always just kind of look a lot at draft bonus, right, and what it means. And to me, he kind of seemed like a guy who was just like one of these like veteran college lefties who was going to carve up the low minors and not really be a prospect. But he's been a little bit better than I kind of thought. So I think a lot will depend on like if he goes to Birmingham and he's like Schweitzer-ish. I mean, he could pitch in the big leagues. I think I think Birmingham will probably decide what he is. But like, look, guys like him carve in Canny, because it's
Sure.
just like he pitched at Texas for 3 years, and that's just what I kind of thought. Like, um, but no, I mean he's been pretty good, and lefties with changeups are tough. So
Here's my worry with Lucas Gordon is that I kind of when I look at his stuff, he reminds me a lot of kind of like a left-handed Mason Adams. My issue though is that unlike Adams, he walks guys. And I think that when you walk guys with that kind of stuff, you have to be really, really careful because he doesn't have that electric fastball to really to get him out of issues here. He's the kind of guy that is playing off of velo differentials and movement, and if you're walking guys, that's when problems come up a lot. I mean, he's been great so far. I just want to see it on the next level and see if it translates.
Well, and I think you're right. That I think that you just hit on why he's been so successful this year with the what 17, 18 scoreless inning streak that he just had. No walks. He's limited the walks this year. He's pounded the strike zones, and I think that's the difference. Now, can he get away with that in Birmingham? We'll see.
Yeah. And
That's
he's
the
another
question.
one of these guys who I think he was like a 6th-round pick, but he was a money saver. So he's, more like a 9th or 10th rounder, like when you kind of stack a draft class according to money. So yeah, just he's one of the guys in the system that has not had Tommy John yet. So
Oh, good lord. Moving along, since we're talking about a pitcher here, let's go to the rotation here, Jeff, and let me hear what you're thinking on the pitching staff over there.
Well, let's see. I happened to catch Tanner McDougal on a good night, and when he's on, it's really impressive. He was landing. His command was pretty decent this on that last week, and he was limiting the walks and very effective. Today, different story.
That just in the second inning,
Yeah.
like at the beginning of the second inning, the first couple of batters, and then he ends up giving up a grand slam. First inning was pretty good. His pitch count was pretty low. He got some outs and whatever, but yeah, it's kind of one of those things that if you catch him when he's on, unhittable
Right.
and just ridiculous.
I
So
mean, his fastball is 96, 97, effortless. It's not. Yeah, it's not a real hard delivery. It's just nice and easy. 97. But he's just struggling to find the consistency.
yeah. So let me ask you this. Seth Keener, he's been having a really tough year so far. Your thoughts on what he could do to improve, like what you think he's really struggling with.
I'll be honest. I didn't see this coming, and I'm not sure what it is. I actually watched one of his start 2 starts ago with his dad, and kind of got the feeling that some of the issues were just mental more than mechanical. But I don't know what the fix is. Maybe I mean he was an effective reliever in college. Maybe let him try working out of the pen to see if that can fix things.
Yeah, speaking of guys that they've moved to the pen, Jake Peppers,
Yeah,
another one of those guys from, if I remember correctly, the same draft. Uh, he's been put in the pen, and he's been, you know, hit all over the place. Can't throw strikes. He's up in the double digit ERA as well. Um, Walks just not been what you wanted to see from him.
yeah. And if you remember last year, it was really rough the first half of the season. Then he got an extended break at the All Star break, like 10 days off, and came back and was the best pitcher on that Candy staff. So again, another one. I did not see this coming. I thought he would be really effective moving to the
Yeah.
did you see?
But
Yeah.
all right, let's talk about one guy who has been really effective out of the pen, Jared Kelly.
He's going to Birmingham. Yeah.
Pitched
Birmingham,
today. Pitched
and
today in Birmingham. One and
how
a
did he
third
do?
innings, scoreless.
Yes, he
Nice.
was untouchable
So
in Houston.
if they somehow get Jared Kelly and Addison Coffey to the big leagues out of that draft, like with Crochet in a 5-round draft, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Then that and
And
who's the
Bailey
other?
Horn has made it too.
I was gonna say they
Bailey Horn,
also
yeah.
got rid of him as well. So
The other guy was Cade Meckles.
Cade Meckles, he
Yeah.
ran into injury trouble if I remember
think so,
correctly,
yeah.
and then kind of so.
Yeah, not good.
Um,
Did you see this in the comments? Like, is
which
there
one?
talk of Wickelman Gonzalez going to the pen now?
Well, he's been pitching out of the pen in Birmingham, so it wouldn't surprise me if they did that.
He wasn't in the
Uh,
rotation there?
but with the amount of stuff that's been going on in Charlotte, it's entirely possible that they move him back into a starting role. I don't know.
Yeah, unless they think he's going to be in the big leagues quickly in the bullpen and they're just fine, I mean, we said some of these guys aren't going to start, right? So,
Yeah, I mean we knew, but I mean that
yeah.
was also before we had 85 Tommy John
Well, and
surgeries.
Paulette's been really good too, right? So,
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. So you got Caden Connor and Ryan Galaney who have been sent to Birmingham. You got Jared Kelly sent to Birmingham. Who am I missing? Is there somebody else that's
Shane
been
Murphy.
Shane Murphy also gone
Yep.
up to Birmingham. He made a start yesterday, and like I love Shane Murphy because I'm pretty sure I always know what I'm going to get. His first inning's a little shaky. He may give up a couple of runs, but then after that, at least 5 innings, and it's generally going to be pretty awesome. You're going to have like a hit here and there, but that's pretty much about it. And that's pretty much exactly what he's been doing in Birmingham, shockingly.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, Birmingham's far away from you, Jeff. Do you have any overall arching thoughts on Birmingham?
To be honest, I have watched precious little Birmingham games. Just I'm kind of knee deep in minor league affiliates
in
here
the
and
Carolinas,
in
yeah.
the Carolinas, yes, sir. And I really defer to my podcast partner Elijah Evans because he loves pitching, and if you love pitching, you're watching Birmingham.
Yeah. So I guess we'll move to Double A and do a little bit of talk about that. Speaking of Double A, Uncle Ted brings up Spencer Jones.
Oh, again. Doesn't he
um,
isn't he hasn't he kind of sucked?
Don't we already
he's
have a
not been
Spencer?
great.
Don't we already have a Spencer Jones in Kannapolis?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I
George.
mean,
Yeah.
George, yeah.
possibly. I will say that Spencer Jones has been hitting home runs and he's
Yeah.
walked a little bit more, but he's still striking out a lot and not hitting a lot. So there is that. So Trey asked me that when we get to the Double A, he asked me to clown Jacob Gonzalez.
Oh,
Pick. Okay, so I'll clown the pick. That was too early to pick him there, probably. But I will say that in the last week, he's been picking things up. The averages started to climb a little bit. He hit his first home run today. Yesterday, I think he led off with a triple in the second inning or whatever, something like that. So the bat's starting to come alive. Um, you know, but from what we saw from him last year, it looks like he's a pretty streaky hitter. So I want to keep my eye on that and see if that happens to be a thing as well.
Have you noticed any changes? Have you detected any changes in his batting stance and his approach at the plate? When I actually I went to spring training for the first time this year, and I asked him, what can we expect? And he said, I'm really trying to be much more athletic at the plate and blah blah blah. And I feel more comfortable. I was just wondering if you can see it.
To be honest, like I haven't like keyed in to like really pay attention to his stance. Although I did notice the other day that I felt like he was flying open a little bit,
Mm.
but then he goes and uh, has hit quite a few extra base hits in the last couple of days. So it could just be that a couple bad swings here and there that I noticed.
Okay.
it's a reason why college shortstops don't often get taken like in that range. It's usually, if you're a high schooler that plays shortstop, you go pro, and then if you generally move to another position in the pros. Like so, yeah,
Yeah,
that's just I mean the Braves used a first rounder on Braden Shoemake once, so it's
glass houses.
yikes, yikes.
I was going over that. I was going over that draft the other day with my kid because he asked me. He's like, "Well, who could the White Sox have picked instead of Andrew Vaughn?" And I just started
It's a
running through
really
this
bad class.
long list of names, and
Yeah,
he's
like if
just like, "Oh,
if you weren't gonna take who's the who's the center fielder on the Tigers, the high schooler, if you weren't gonna take him, like the rest is kind of bad. I wanted Abrams, and he hasn't been very good either. So
Yeah, that's fair. Trying to think. There's a bunch of guys in lower rounds that ended up being, fairly decent
Yeah,
players.
better than Andrew
Uh,
Vaughn, which isn't tough to do.
Better than Andrew Vaughn, or at least comparable, and at a far higher draft, lower draft position. So there is that. Um,
Speaking of Andrew Vaughn,
Don't do it.
I'm just curious. You guys watch him on a daily basis. As I told you off camera, I have barely watched the White Sox this year. And are you guys advocating just DFA, let him go, move on, send him to Charlotte?
Um,
And,
yeah,
and
yeah. So,
what are you advocating? What are you militating for with regard to Elko?
well, so he does like Vaughn does have options, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, if they DFA'd him, I don't think anybody would pick him up because he makes $5 million. But he has options, right? So you're doing this thing with Colson Montgomery in Arizona, where he's like in Ryan Fuller's boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could do the same thing with Andrew Vaughn and then bring up Elko and see if he's any good. People keep messaging me with Vaughn's ex Woba and how he's unlucky and he's hitting the ball hard right at people and I don't know. Like I don't really see it, but
Yeesh.
you know.
So Jeff, did you this is gonna open up a can of worms here, but did you did you happen to see the Tyler Osick uh Andrew Vaughn tweet? Did you happen to see that?
I did not.
All right, hold on one second here. I'm gonna go ahead and read it for you here when I find it.
It's
I've
another
got it.
former podcast guest, Tyler
Sure
Osick.
is. All right, so Tyler says, I'll tell the truth here. Andrew Vaughn would be out in Arizona golfing, and we would all be grinding in Arizona at the facility in the off season. And he'd show up 2 times per week, dumbbell press 40 pounds, take 20 swings off the machine, show up and hit 250 with 15 bombs and 500 plus ABs, then repeat the next year. To me, that was just a slap in the face to all the people grinding to make it, given the keys to the game and took it for granted. Promote Tim Elko.
Oh my gosh. Ugh.
Oof.
Oh boy.
Now, you know, I've talked to To for quite a long time here, and I've seen how Tyler operates and everything. He's very outspoken, but the guy's always worked very hard and taken the game very seriously, and he loves the game of baseball. My thought is that if he's putting this out there, now I know that he's a disgruntled former, you know, guy from the White Sox system and feels like he didn't get his just due. But you win a high A batting title, you get promoted, and then you get sparse at bats in 4 weeks and then get let go. I could see how you would get a little ticked off at that. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I guess my issue was always 29 other teams had the opportunity to give him. I think what happened was the White Sox felt like his bat played at catcher, and then they moved him to catcher, but then they were like, oh, we don't have the time to make him a catcher, so then they released him, which didn't what I think is look it was never gonna work at first base. He just didn't have enough power. Um, but yeah, I mean, look, Vaughn was I don't know. I didn't really hear the negative character reports on Vaughn. I just kind of think he's not very good. But I don't know.
Wow. Well, with that kind of character, he fit right in with the old clubhouse.
Yeah, I've heard that he's not exactly a nice guy. In person. I mean, I have only briefly met him, and he was fine to me, but I wasn't asking him questions.
Well, I know he's very stubborn. He's got the same stupid batting stance and approach that he's always had that doesn't work. That's in non Pac-12 environments without aluminum bats. So, I just he's just not very good.
Yeah, like looking at Andrew Vaughn in his uniform, I can completely understand how he says that he would just show up and do a couple of shoulder presses with a 40-pound dumbbell and then disappear, because the guy looks like, like, I don't know, the Flying Dutchman out there looks like, like his body type reminds me of somebody that played in the 19 teens. So, it really wouldn't surprise me if, his conditioning wasn't that great. But then again, he stayed healthy when all the guys who were, Under Armour mannequins were all going down all the time. So I mean, I guess there is something to say for that as well. So Double A, you have any thoughts on that, James, at all? On performances and whatever. Hagen Smith today, quality start, 6 innings of 4 hit balls,
Six
shutout.
Ks and 2 walks. Yeah, having the walks down is good. I saw some comments on, I mean, it's a lot of walks for Taylor and for Smith. I mean, I think they'll iron that out. I mean, all three of those guys are just, the stuff's really good. It's all about innings. We've kind of talked about that. I mean, Schultz and Smith both need to get up over 100. I don't know what the limit is on Taylor, but I mean, look, just from the indications of like the White Sox beat, I mean, like I kind of think Taylor's finishing the year in Chicago, like just probably in a bullpen role because it's what Bannister kind of likes to do. I don't know about Schultz and Smith for sure, but it just seems you know, like Grant Taylor's going to get all the innings that he can in Double A, and then they're going to look at him like in a relief role at the end of the year.
Well, what's exciting is, regardless where these guys end up at the end of the year, Hagen Smith is already pitching 6 full innings, and
And Schultz
Noah,
did the other day for the first time. Yeah, that's
yeah,
good.
and so they're starting to really get a little length to their starts for the first time. That's a huge development and
Yeah.
really exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
Paulette's
kind of
really,
looks
really good in the back of the bullpen, and then yeah, that offense is what it is. I mean, you had reinforcements like from some of the college corner guys you were talking about, Ian, that are up there now. But
yeah, I think that they're going to become a lot more interesting here in the next over the next month. Um, and then hopefully, and this is jumping out like on a big limb here. Hopefully Braden Montgomery is ready at that point to maybe bump up a level, because if he continues to hit 360 at Winston Salem, there's not really much reason to keep him there. It seems like that would be like the next challenge in the next progression. I saw a question here. So I actually I did have a thought here. So Taylor's got like a half run ERA right now.
yeah,
So again, we talked about this. I guess we talked about this last week, and when the guy's making 40 pitches and he's through 3 innings, like at what point do you kind of take the training wheels off here and kind of open it up for him a little bit? I mean, like, are we really going to do this all year, 3 innings an outing?
right. You're at four. I mean, you're at 14 innings on the season in 5 starts, and his ERA is 0.63. So I mean, look, it's walks. Obviously, it's 16 Ks and 10 walks. But I mean, if he's gonna keep walking guys, he's gonna keep throwing 3 innings. So,
Fair enough.
like
So,
I don't know. I
how
don't
many
really know.
pitches is he throwing? What's he up to in his?
I think he threw 47 pitches
That's
uh,
it.
a couple of days ago. Yeah, and then like the week before that, he had 37 pitches for 3 innings, and they pulled him.
So he's on the old Noah Schultz plan.
It
Yeah,
appears that way. It appears that way. But like the difference that you're looking at here is, he's a year and a half removed from TJ rehab, and last year he had like a very slight lat that they babied him on.
right.
So like my question here is that if those are the injuries, and it's not like a save the elbow type of thing, because he didn't have an elbow last year, he had a slight lat. why are we giving him the Noah Schultz plan? Because he pitched in college, he had a full normal workload in high school, which Schultz did not, so he didn't have to build up an innings base, you know, other than the TJ situation. So like, just my question is why are we
I know. I don't.
bothering with that much?
Yeah, I don't really understand it either. I mean, I get even if they wanted to do the once a week thing and not go every 5 days, that I would understand. And then you just kind of let him go like on those days and give him the extra rest sort of thing. But I mean, he's in a 6-man rotation and not pitching basically.
Yeah, kind of odd.
Well, no, I guess it's a 5-man, but I mean, he's still basically pitching once a week. So
Yeah, I mean, it could be a 6-man
right,
if they
yeah,
wanted to. I mean, granted, they did just yank Wickelman out of there,
yeah, and
um,
Schweitzer. So
and Schweitzer. My question here is that, I know that that Wickelman's on the 40-man, and that he's pitched some innings and all that, but to me, I thought he could have probably used some more time because I feel like he walks too many guys. That was just my thought.
Wickelman Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Well, which maybe is why he's going to pitch in relief in Charlotte, and they're just decided that he's a reliever and he's going to be in the big leagues because he's one of the options on the 40-man.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because they don't. I mean, that's like as much as we would like him to start, right? That's the 4th piece in that trade, and the first 3 pieces all look pretty good. So if he's a 7th inning guy as the 4th piece in a deal, I mean, it's still pretty good.
Oh, sure.
So I guess we'll move along to the place that we don't really want to talk about, but there are a couple of interesting stories in Charlotte, and you have you used to spend most of your time in Charlotte, hence the name TripleAJeff. But now, having realized that there are 2 other teams right down the street from you, have realized the folly in your ways and have decided to venture outwards. But your thoughts on I know somebody asked me about it earlier. We might as well just go ahead and get this out of the way here. Your thoughts on the Colson Montgomery trip to Arizona?
I think I'm still in a state of shock, to be honest. You know, great idea. Go work one on one with Ryan Fuller, and but I just still am having trouble wrapping my head around Colson being this lost. Um, there was just nothing in his profile that made me think this was even a possibility. And for the first time, I'm starting to think it may not happen for him. I mean, you know, league averages might be the ceiling all of a sudden. I can't believe it. What do you guys think?
James, your your
Yeah.
thoughts?
I mean, it hasn't been great, right? But I think it's one of those things where I don't know the reason, right? Is it like I know like Ian hasn't loved like his approach. Is it one of these things where there's like all of a sudden some swing adjustment that clicks, right? Like I don't think the ceiling is what we thought it was, but I think if he's decent at shortstop, right, and walks and hits homers and is a low average guy, like that's still like a pretty good big leaguer. Like if he can get to that point, right? So like, is he going to be like a superstar? And I think that's probably like off the table, right? But I do think a lot of it kind of depends on like if he can play average big league shortstop, like he has power and he has plate discipline. So like I think he can be salvaged. I just think he was probably never a top 15 prospect in baseball.
Yeah, I think that's probably an accurate thing. Although, it could be that he goes to Arizona and they sort out his approach, and they manage to make him a little bit quicker through the box, and work on his swing a little bit to shorten it down a little bit. And that, to my personal opinion, is that power's still going to be there. I just think that you know with how often he was barreling it at one point. I feel like he can still do that. I just think it's a just an approach issue and trying to sort out the way he's going to do things. But then again, he's also got that Yoan Moncada thing where he loves to stare at a fastball right down the middle,
Yeah, there's
sometimes, and it gets froze a lot.
yeah, there's definitely like a mental like thing too, because he hasn't like been able to get himself out of it, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, look, like Kyle Teal has not been great the whole year in Charlotte either, So
Yeah.
I just don't think we hear like, oh, Kyle Teal's completely lost, whereas like Colson Montgomery looks completely like lost at the plate.
I don't have the stats in front of me, but Kyle Till's got to be hitting 75, 100 points higher than Colson. I mean, I
Well,
guess
I
my
mean,
point is I'm not putting them both in the same
okay.
category.
I mean, you're saying he's hitting 250 when Colson's hitting 150. I mean, we're not, it's
Yeah.
not like a huge deal, but since that first week, Teal's power has been quite a lot less than people were hoping for, and it was pretty much what I was expecting, to be honest, because I wasn't an ardent Teal supporter. Previously, like I watched him hit against White Sox pitching, and I was like, we
Yeah.
could have drafted this. They took him right before us. I'm fine with that. We ended up getting him in a trade. So
Yeah, Teal's OPS is 755 at Charlotte. So, 355 OBP, 400 slugging. It's like a 101 WRC plus. It should be better than that playing in that place, but
Oh, true.
he's
True.
also catching. So
Yeah. I don't know.
yeah,
I think with Colson, it's three things, right? I mean, there's mechanical flaw. The swing's too long. There's mental, his plate approach, which used to be elite. I mean, that used to be his calling card. It is all out of whack. And then third, probably his confidence has got to be shot. And
regardless of what he says.
yeah,
right.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
you look up there and your average starts with a 1. I mean, it's tough to
And
not
it's not
not start
1,000.
not start
And you just
questioning it.
have you can watch him in Charlotte and you can see, he's just frustrated. I mean, it's not the same Colson, not that mentally strong, mentally tough Colson that we expect.
So, so Trey's asking Jeff how you think that Colson's looked at shortstop. I think that he's looked pretty good. I feel like he could be a competent shortstop. I'm never going to say that he's going to be a Francisco Lindor type guy, but I mean, to me, he's looked like a fairly decent shortstop. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he's looked okay. I guess I just recall 2 or 3 years ago when the White Sox were inept at the plate. They were inept running the bases. Remember, they were making all the base running mistakes, and they were inept defensively. And Getz said, we want to have a strong defensive team going forward. And I'm thinking, well, the strong defensive team is putting Colson at third base. I mean, I think he could be a gold glove third baseman, but I don't see that potential at shortstop.
Yeah,
Maybe
no,
he's
that's fair.
league average, and maybe that's all. To get 20, 25 homers, maybe you'll take league average defensively. But if defense is important as we'd like to think Getz thinks it is, I really like him at third.
How else can you explain Jacob Amaya? If he values defense, that's the only reason that guy can be around.
Well, that's a good argument.
Yeesh. So to answer Trey's question, does Brian Ramos still exist? Yes, he does. He just came back literally this week. And he's got some hits. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for that power to start showing back up, but he's hitting the ball plenty hard from what I've seen so far. So, should be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just giving him a pass because he just came back after an extended layoff and still working on getting his timing down. Let's check in 3 or 4 weeks and see where he's at.
Yeah, my thought as well.
So
You got anything else here, James?
well, no, just like as far as like guys that were in Charlotte that are now in Chicago. I know Jeff, you said you haven't really been watching the big league product a ton. I don't think you'll be surprised that Chase Mydroth and Edgar Caro are doing basically the same things they did like when they were in AAA. So
That's exciting.
added yeah, it's a little bit more fun to watch White Sox games with some guys that might matter at some point.
Yeah, we hated to see him go so quickly because of what it meant for the level of play in Charlotte. But no, seriously, I'm happy for him, and I think that just portends so many great things. That there is a little hope that maybe this thing can get turned around.
Yeah.
And Ian, we talk a lot on here about those draft classes, the what 16 through 19 that didn't really work out that well. I remember after the 2019 draft where they took Andrew Vaughn, I interviewed Nick Hostetler and I asked him for a guy, a day 3 guy that, he liked the best. And he said, after seeing him on the Cape, like he was convinced that Caleb Freeman was going to pitch in the big leagues. So here we are 6 years later.
Don't you guys think though that it's just completely different now with Mike Shirley? That it's just we got a guy who knows what he's doing, and there's a steady flow of talent into the pipeline now, year after
I
year.
think organization. I think like above him is different too. But yeah, I think there was like a big shift. I mean, I've always kind of thought Nick Hostetler's hands were tied, but he's always gonna have those picks on his name. So like they wanted to rebuild quickly, and they drafted basically 40 college guys every year. And when you're wrong, you're wrong in a big way because it's just kind of.
You got to commit, James. If you're going to go for something, you got to commit and go all in.
Well, and at that time, the owner still didn't want to spend $7 million on a high school player in the top 5. So, your options are pretty limited. I mean, I remember Nick Hostetler would come on my show and wax poetic about his love of high school players and then draft 39 college guys. So,
I will say I've had Caleb Freeman as a guy in the major leagues for several years now, and he just ran into some injury issues, and I think that those injury issues like screwed up his timing and everything, and kind of screwed with his command quite a bit, trying to make it back from all that stuff, and he's looked pretty good here so far this year. I think that working a little bit closer with possibly with Bannister, and we'll see if he can manage to be a useful piece up on the south side. I don't know. We'll see. So James, do you have any other things that you want to talk about with the White Sox before we move to the MLB stuff that you were talking about earlier?
No, just other than the Nightingale notes today, like he kind of put Robert's stat line over the last week. Did you see that? And then kind of said that he was heating up a little bit, which is true, and that the White Sox would love to trade him by Memorial Day. So stay tuned. We'll give you the weekly Sunday Bob Nightingale notes column, Luis Robert update.
Yeah, that whole thing. I don't know. Yeah, okay, so he's been good for a week. I mean, you trade him by Memorial Day, he better put up some stats.
I will say some of it, like the walk rate looks really good. And he's like second in baseball in stolen bases, and he's great in center field.
First,
so,
didn't he
is
pass?
He first?
I thought he passed Dela Cruz today.
Today he did, yeah. So like he looks better, but he's hitting like 174 or something.
And that's why I can't figure out how he can be leading the major leagues in walks if he's not getting on base.
Well, he's not in walks, but he's got more than I think he's
like
like 12
stolen bases.
Yeah. So his walks, he's like 12%, which is like way more than he's like ever done.
But he's sure not hitting his way on, unfortunately.
All right, so Uncle Ted brings this up here. And so we saw the City Connects for the first time the other day. Uncle Ted says those red cities are fire.
Uncle Ted. It reminds me of the Bulls, and like I don't like being reminded of the Bulls. It's just like those jerseys are like a great summation of 40 years of Jerry Reinsdorf ownership for 2 teams in my life. Just I don't know. Like the old City Connects were fine. I don't know why we needed new red jerseys that just remind me of like Ron Mercer playing for the Bulls.
I personally, I don't like them. I didn't particularly like the other ones either. I just don't like them. I don't know. Just my personal opinion. I wouldn't buy either of them. That's just my thought. Yeah, I will say the non pinstriped hats, the solid one, that one I kind of like, but the pinstripe one I can do without that.
Yeah, I'm wondering how many. So did you see they showed the pro shop, and they literally have to sell Frank Thomas ones because there's nobody, like there's no jerseys to buy. So I think they had Robert and Vaughn in the pro shop, and then a ton of 35s. Like, because like what else are you gonna do? Whose jersey are you gonna buy? You go get the Mike Talkman, the everybody from the Northern Burbs.
How hard up to buy that jersey do you have to be to buy an Andrew Vaughn
Oh my God,
jersey?
I know.
Wow. I really want one of these, but it's got Andrew Vaughn on it. I don't think I'll
Yeah,
pass.
I mean, if you like them, Frank Thomas is the play. Like you have to. So
So James, so there was an outfielder that was designated for assignment that's
oh
out on
yeah,
waivers.
yeah,
You want to talk about that?
yeah. So he's not good. Like Leody Taveras is not good, but I think he's more interesting than Joshua Palacios. So like I just don't know. Like if Will Venable likes him or there's like a connection. Like I don't think they'd claim the contract because it's like 5 million. But I mean, if you had Leody Taveras on this team, like playing occasionally, like I'd be that's fine. Like these are just, I feel like the types of swings you should be making when you're terrible. So
So Trey,
are you reading the thing? Oh yeah,
I am, and this is
yeah.
who would you actually want? Serious question.
Davis Martin,
You
maybe
have to pick a jersey. Who do you take?
of somebody on the current team.
Yeah.
Chase Mydroth,
Ooh, there
Yeah.
you go.
because he'll
That's
be
a
here. He'll be
Caro.
or
I
Carroll
got a
because
Caro one
they'll be
on
here.
my
They'll
list.
they'll be here for a while. So it's got to be somebody that might maybe you get a Will Venable
There you go. He's going to be here
of a while. I think.
for
Yeah.
yeah, for a while. I don't think they're going to get rid of him. He seems like he's company man. Um
Yeah. Yeah, so
so
Tavares he's on outright waivers. They didn't even DFA him. So it's just clearly like they hope somebody will take the contract. Look, the bat hasn't been good. Texas has been terrible. I don't know that anybody will claim him. But if he gets free somehow, I just like I just wonder about all kind of Rangers connections. I brought up the coach. They fired their offensive coordinator
Donnie
as
Ecker.
well. So, and boy, we love offensive coordinators in this town. So
If Tavares, I mean, he fits a mold that sadly gets his embrace. The light hitting corner outfielder.
Yeah.
What's one more?
well, I just don't know. Like maybe Venable has a relationship with him. I mean, so Donnie Ecker, before we get off here, was like one of these guys that was like, a young hitting guru type guy, and he was in San Francisco with Bannister. He was just in Texas with Venable. He interviewed for the White Sox job and didn't make it as a finalist. But then he was hired as like the offensive coordinator in Texas, like after Venable left. And now he's been fired in Texas because that is an underachieving baseball team. So I just don't know, like, is he free? Like, can he come and be a consultant for you? Like, is he allowed to go work elsewhere? I don't even know, but I just think it's interesting that everybody else they interviewed for the job, they hired in some different role. So I'll just be like curious to see.
$2 billion they spent in that offseason or something like that,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
And they won a World Series, but now they're unhappy and they think that they should be better. They're underperforming, so obviously it's got to be his fault.
Is
So
their hitting coach not Tim Hires, or is it still?
I don't know. I didn't
Or
look at that.
did he go to the he might have went to the Braves. I don't remember.
I do not know.
Yeah,
So he's the hitting coach for the Braves. So Tim Hires was their hitting coach. He's pretty good. So yeah, they must have basically completely overhauled their like hitting department.
and a somewhat noteworthy former White Sox player for the Rangers send to the minor leagues to
Yeah, Burger. Yeah.
yeah, wow. So it's
Yeah.
not just Chicago.
Yeah, now Jake Berger's in the minors and Jake Eater's in the majors.
Right.
So
Ian, the other thing you'll like here too. So the American Association is starting. You know, their rosters are out. Have you seen any of this?
I have not, no.
Matt Thompson, Micah Adolfo, Brett Phillips, all are on these teams. So I think Adolfo's playing for the Milwaukee team. Will
Ooh.
Cannon is in that league.
Yeah.
I don't know which team Matthew Thompson is on, but I wonder if he like will walk people in the American Association. I'm
Probably, and he'll walk off
kind
the
of
mound punching himself in the head
yeah,
just like
yeah,
he
kind of
did
curious
just like he
for
did for the White Sox.
yeah.
Wow, Mike, or that wow, that brings
Well,
back.
so the White Sox traded Matthew Thompson for Bailey Horn and DFA'd Bailey Horn before the season started and still won the trade somehow.
Yeah, that's he had some nasty stuff, but man, those walks just
He just doesn't know how to pitch. Yeah.
rough. You guys got anything before I walk us out here?
No, thanks for letting me join you guys. This was a lot of fun. I haven't laughed this hard about White Sox baseball in a while.
It's pretty easy to do right now. Thanks for coming on, Jeff. We really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, and you had the week off this week because Elijah and Dylan are both
Yeah,
doing their finals.
they're
So,
taking college finals. God, my goodness.
I know.
yeesh. All right. So you have been watching / listening to the Future Sox podcast. If you are listening to this in podcast form, know that you can find us every Sunday night at 8 p.m. on YouTube and the Purple app. You can also find this podcast along with all of our written content at FutureSox.net. If you are looking for White Sox prospect highlights, you can find them on X at FutureSox. And now also here on our YouTube channel. If you love the content and want to support us here at FutureSox, there's a link to our Patreon in our channel description and at FutureSox.net. You can also toss up a super chat on our YouTube stream. Also, don't forget to like this stream and subscribe with notifications so you know when we're going live while helping us in the World Wide Web algorithms. My name is Ian Eskridge at Daily White Sox. He's at James Fox at JamesFox917. He double windows over. Jeff Cohen, TripleAJeff. We appreciate all of you. Thanks for coming and hanging out tonight, guys. We appreciate you. You guys drive our chat, and you guys a great community. Thank you for hanging out. We appreciate you guys. Have a great night, and we will talk to you next week. Have a good one. Thanks.